Hi, everybody. It's Nicole Begley from the Hair of the Dog podcast, and welcome to episode number 2. Today, I have Kimberly Buccheri and Bud Thorpe from Kimberlys Photography and the Master Lighting Course, and they are going to be talking with me all about their client experience. They've created an experience that not only results in fantastic sales, but also results in their clients having an experience that exceeds their expectations every single time. And they're sharing their secrets with us. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Hair of the Dog podcast. If you're a pet photographer ready to make more money and start living a life by your design, you've come to the right place. And now, your host, pet photographer, travel addict, chocolate martini connoisseur, Nicole Begley.
Hi, everybody. Nicole here from Hair of the Dog podcast. And I am so excited to bring you guys a very special duo onto the podcast today. We have Kimberly Buccheri and Bud Thorpe from Kimberlys Photography up in cold, snowy New Hampshire. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having us, Nicole. It's our pleasure.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks so much. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys here is you guys have created quite an amazing boutique pet photography business. And, you know, you always hear all of these buzzwords of, oh, we need to be boutique. We need to bring value. But I think it's sometimes so hard for people to figure out, you know, what exactly that is or what exactly that means. And, you know, I would love to just chat with you a little bit about how you guys bring some value to your business and get that across to potential clients. And yeah, I think you have so much great stuff to share. So I'm excited to have you here. Thanks again for being here.
Of course. So that is really something we decided early on to do, is to be a boutique business. We wanted to offer a service and, you know, and to kind of wow our clients and give them what we call a great experience.
Yeah,
I think we really built that in. Yes. And it started out from the very beginning. I've always loved animals, as most of us and probably all of us listening in. And so it was just kind of a natural flow. I loved photography. So at some point, the two of those came together for me. And I was doing dog and pet photography on the side while I had my full-time job as an executive assistant at a large hospital just north of Boston. And that was probably going on for 10 years. And that was about 4 years ago. So in total, 14 years doing this.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But after 15 years of working at this large hospital that I won't name, I got laid off, right?
Yep.
So here I am at an age that I need to really make solid decisions because time wasn't on my side. And I did the opposite thing. Like, I could have gone back to work, do something else, but I decided on pet photography, and it was scary. There was no steady income. There was no insurance. There was no, you know, and even then there wasn't a lot of information that I could find out there building a dog photography business. It was hard to find.
Right.
But Bud and I talked about it, and we said we're gonna make this work. And we had started off by doing a couple of classes that Bud ran at his studio. The Art of Dog Photography was the name, and Sit, Stay, Smile was the dog part of it. And they took off. I mean, they really had a great turnout. And we said, okay, yeah, we're just going to keep going down this road, and we never looked back.
That's awesome. So did you always just do pets? You didn't start off doing humans of some variety?
Yes, we have. And I have, Bud more so than I.
Yep. I like to say that I'm a recovering wedding photographer. Yeah.
I love it.
I always joke that my price for weddings now is $50,000 because that's about what it would take to get me to do one. And if someone actually paid that, I think I'd be happy about it. But short of that, I don't think I'd be so happy. I'm about 700 weddings in over 30 years as a wedding and portraitist.
Yes.
And a lot of high school seniors over the years as well. But really, for more than a decade, I've really been running a training studio up here in Manchester, New Hampshire. which is also a bit of a photo co-op. So I teach quite a lot of photography, actually.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah,
Yep.
the whole wedding photography thing definitely takes a special person.
Sure does.
Yeah,
I
special in so
never got
many
into
ways. Yeah.
I knew that was never my calling. So I
Mhm.
admire the beauty of some of these wedding portraits. It's actually where I find a lot of my inspiration for different lighting or different. I wish we could take dogs into some of these wedding venues because
Right?
like, oh my gosh, I
I
want to use
know.
that space.
I know. I've seen them.
But I
It's a
think,
service dog. It's a service dog.
yeah. But I think weddings, my experience there, but our experience jointly in knowing so many photographers, hundreds locally, formed very much our experience and our notion of what our business model would be.
Yeah,
And to that point, if you think of an average wedding photographer and how many hours they spend both courting their client, but also serving their client, both on the day and what I would describe as a mountain of post production,
right.
these are folks putting 40 hours in at least for every single wedding. Um,
Absolutely.
at least those working at a higher level of quality are. And so when you think that so many photographers are getting $2,000-$3,000 for a wedding, their hourly rates, when you discount things like the cost of their overhead and actually getting paid, is really quite low. And
Right.
for Kim and I won't say a number about our age, but we are not 20 years old. For those who don't know us and are just listening in, this is not a video podcast. Know that we're not youngish. And to that point, that we value time equally as much as dollars. So we wanted to build a business model that fit very much a lifestyle that we chose to live. And so we make the business fit our life and not vice versa, which I don't know that a lot of folks do it that way.
And
Oh man, I love that. And I am a huge proponent to that. That really, I mean, we're running our own business. We can make this look like whatever we want.
exactly, Nicole.
And as long as you run the numbers, you can make it profitable. If you want to just do, oh, I just shoot like a small, like limited edition sessions, 2
Mhm.
Saturdays a month, you can make that profitable. Oh, I want to shoot 3 clients for full sessions a month. You can make that profitable. I
Right.
just want to do studio. I just want to do outside. You can make anything profitable. You just need to know how to do that.
How to do it.
Well, I
Right.
think
Exactly.
setting a goal that makes sense, and that goal could very much be time. And I say time because Kim and I are both over the age of 50. There, I said a number.
Oh.
Yeah. We're both over the
You're
age of 50.
29 plus 21 and a few.
29 plus something. Yeah. Don't even make me do it. I minored in math. You wouldn't know it. But, or it could be that you are a 20 something and you have small children at home and you need
That
to
family
balance
time.
that family time. And so
Yeah.
you know that maybe it's not a full time thing, maybe it's supplementary income. But again, as long as that goal is measurable, reasonable, you can build a business model around it, I feel. And that's the beauty of photography as a small business enterprise, is that if you've seen one, you've seen one.
Yep.
There's lots of ways to go about it. And just because someone chooses to do something different than the business model than Kim and I have adopted doesn't mean that we don't love what someone else is up to too.
Oh, absolutely.
They're
Yeah.
not exclusive by any stretch of the imagination. When we share what we do, we simply hope that someone can take a piece out of that might enrich their lives in some way.
Yep.
And for us too, travel was very important for us, and spending time with our aging parents.
Yep.
We don't have children, so our time is ours, and we want to spend it with the people that we love and be able to care for them when they need it. Right now, Winston, my corgi, he is 13. He's having those hip problems and the weak, hind end. And he needs a little more care in his senior years. And if I were working, I would not be able to do that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, just this week, my son had the flu, so he's been home all week. And I'm thinking, what do parents, my
Right.
husband works from home, I work from home. So we're really, really blessed and lucky in that respect. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how do parents that both have to work out of the house, then someone has to make the decision who's going to use their sick day or who's going to
Yep.
call in? And got, to be able to have that flexibility
Yeah.
is definitely what drove me to start my business, to be able to work for myself and have that flexibility to really design my life in a way that, doing something that I love that also made money, that, I could also have time to do what I want to do. It's
That's exactly it. And I think every time that, as we were kind of building this business, there was plenty of roadblocks and plenty of obstacles and plenty
of
of
course,
negative thoughts going through. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make this work because it's better than a cubicle. And
yeah,
that was I am not
yeah,
going back to the cubicle farm.
absolutely. Yeah, the one thing I encourage everybody to do, all of you guys out there, however you are running your business, is tracking your time and your income to see what you're actually making an hour
Yeah.
is such an important thing to do because, yeah, like you said, we can have these businesses. You can be, like sports school volume photographers can make a great living
Sure can.
doing volume work. Same thing with doing, however you want to set your business up. But it's important just to keep track of what time you're spending so you're not inadvertently giving your clients boutique client hours, but, volume pricing, because then that becomes challenging
Right.
to
Right.
make your hourly rate profitable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about what you guys do differently than other photographers that your potential clients might be looking for, how you make the experience special for them.
This is my favorite thing to talk about.
I love it.
It really is. So we decided it was going to be boutique. It was going to be an experience that no dog mom or dad had experienced, especially in our area of New Hampshire. I don't know of anyone else that does it the way we do. So, I wanted it to be a little glamorous, right? I wanted to be something that people talked about, like, oh my goodness, you have to go do this. I wanted to be
Yeah.
something that people spoke of and highly. So what we do is different. There's different ways of marketing. Probably won't get into that, but the actual service itself is very hands-on, and we are on the phone, very little through email, very little through automation, because I still want to keep it personal.
Yep.
Again, at the amount of clients that we see, I can do that. I can
Absolutely.
still kind of, it's so manageable. We know everybody in the family. We know their name. We know about the dog. After a phone call, we invite them in for a design consultation. They come to the studio. Our studio has been redone recently. We have beautiful artwork. We have a 30 by 60, a 40 by 50, down the smallest is a 20 by 30. And of course, right, show what you sell. And
Yep.
it does work. There's all those magic things that I'm sure your folks have heard about out on Hair of the Dog. We all know that. So it's more of the experience. So when they come in, they're greeted by a nice warm fireplace, and they sit down, and the china is laid out on the table. We have tea or coffee. There's always some nice snack to have. And it's really about asking those personal questions and finding out what the relationship is with their dog. Now, most people like to talk about their dog, so we don't find that very difficult, a difficult conversation to have. But it's always keeping people on the emotional side. It's very rare that we go off topic. We try to narrow it in, speak about the dog, and we do talk about pricing. Then we talk about sizing. We do offer canvas, metals, fine art prints. We don't do packages at this point, and pricing is always, has always a question for people. But we're pretty happy with our pricing where it is.
Yep.
And packages packages. It's always a thought, right? Should I do albums? Should I do folio boxes? So. But anyway, I'm getting off topic there.
No,
But
no worries. No worries.
right, it is. It's about building the relationship. It's about people seeing us as artists and not just someone who pushes a button on a camera. And so that is a lot of what we talk about and what we show people.
Yeah.
We show them the art.
Yeah, I can imagine the getting across that this is more of art. This is not just a photograph, that you're going to start with a photograph. It's your medium, but it is becoming art, because then that starts to build that value, and it's something that they can't do on their own.
Right.
I'm a big believer, especially as technology continues to improve. And I mean, our iPhone cameras are getting pretty spectacular.
I know.
that we have to continue to step up the game and offer things that people can't do on their own. So, you know, they're of course never going to have your eye. So they're not going to see things that you see, even if these lenses on these phones continue to improve and, you know, you can get more separation and smaller depth of field and all that stuff.
Exactly.
They don't have the eye. They can't remove, you know, leashes and things like that. And they certainly can't take that image and give it that artistic finish that, you know, that a professional can offer them.
Exactly. And I'm always happy to hear that someone has a black dog, right?
Yeah.
Because they always say, I can't photograph this dog. He just looks black. I can't even see the eyes. And I'm like, that's what we're here for.
I know, and they're always asking too, like, are you sure you can do a black dog? I'm like, yeah, look at my website, many black dogs.
Right.
We just updated our wall art to include not one, but two different, one black dog, one black cat.
Yeah.
Specifically on black backgrounds, no less, to make the point, because it comes up so often for us.
Right.
But to go back to Kim's point about relationships, you know, people do business and candidly spend money with folks that they trust. And we are trustworthy people.
We're not salesy.
We're not salesy at all.
To a fault. I
suppose. I mean, it doesn't affect our sales average, mind you. But
still,
the point is, we are so confident in what we do and what we provide, that confidence, without coming across as cocky, not at all,
arrogant,
or arrogant, better word there, candidly, that comes across in the quality of the experience the customer's having with us. And that is really a mainstay of what we're talking about, is the quality of the experience the customer's having when they're with us, whether it be the design consult, the studio session, or ultimately the ordering session, or even when we go to their home to install the art for larger orders. Quality of that experience. If you think about it, when's the last time you went into someone's business and they offered to take your coat and hang it up?
Right.
It's a little thing.
Right.
But if I do that, the first moment they walk in, they realize this is different. Something is different here. They're actually paying attention to me.
Absolutely.
And it is about them. It is the customer first. And I think that would be one of our mottos, if we ever had one, is that the customer's first, in terms of the quality of their experience. I mean, we're all dog photographers. We're all animal pet photographers. I mean, the folks who are going to listen into this podcast, certainly. So, you know, the importance of, if the dog, I don't know, let's say is an accident in the studio, we always talk about how you should clean that up very quickly. But again, the quality of that experience, it should be as if it never happened, because you want the associations with the artwork that you're creating to be so buoyant and positive, so that when they look in this artwork 5 years down the road, they're thinking about the positive experience they had, not that the dog had an accident in the studio. And everything we do is about that positive experience, from the care that Kim takes in picking out the napkins that we use with the tea set. And yes, I said tea set in China. And yes, I know how to serve tea. And
we even have a menu.
We have a menu.
Oh, nice.
We do. We have a menu for the dog treats for the session. And we have a menu for the humans during the portrait session as well. And then again for their ordering session.
We buy champagne by the case. Well, it's actually not champagne. It's Moscato. I must say it that way. We buy champagne by the case for the ordering sessions.
That's fantastic. Did they put in their order then before?
Yeah, we know. Yeah.
Yes.
Plus, we're also asking about their food allergies.
Yes.
Or if they're vegan, vegetarian, or lactose intolerant, or all these other things. We find out so that we don't ever serve them something they don't like.
And then
Right.
when they choose a treat for the dog, we offer different things. I have a relationship with a boutique, a dog and horse
Yep.
boutique, and I go there and I buy them and they package it up nicely in their little bag. And it's a little gift. If we don't, I buy them 2 bags, and one they can take home with them and one we use for the session. So
That's fantastic.
yeah,
And
it's just a little thing.
yeah, I think so many people are looking for what's the secret thing? Like, what's the one thing I need to do? But really, it comes down to seeing how you can best serve your client and just making sure that their experience is beyond their expectations, that they know what's coming next. My personal rule is always every time I'm talking to a client or have any interaction with a client at all, I always let them know what the next step is or when they're going to hear from me again. Because I never want them to be sitting there and thinking, oh, wait, am I supposed to be doing something right now? Why have I not heard? Do I still have that scheduled? When everybody gets so busy, I think that's one of the easiest things that people drop the ball on in different businesses is just that basic client interaction, that client experience.
Right. Absolutely. The business that I had worked at where I got laid off, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for an agency to tell them that exact same thing. So again, this is a hospital, right? Doctors, patients, hospital. And they said they needed to be better at informing the patient of what to expect next.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm thinking, God, my mom taught me that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, say hello to people, look them in the eye.
Yeah, I feel like common sense is not always so common anymore.
Exactly. But I do think we're confident too, and that kind of frees us up a little bit, like Bud was saying, not arrogant, but it frees us up to do those other things. Like we're pretty well set when we are doing the photo sessions, the portrait sessions. It helps us relax. I know a lot of people, when they work in the studio, and maybe just with any client, whether you're outdoors or in studio, there's some anxiety about it. Am I going to get it right? Am I doing the right thing? Is the light in the right place? All things are kind of gone for us. And if I can just say, it's because of Bud.
Yeah.
So it's his lighting. I call him the lighting guru, right? It's all.
Absolutely. In practice. I mean, you've been doing this for, almost 15 years now.
Right.
So it's one of those things, when anytime you're starting anything new, you have to spend so much time thinking about the mechanics of it, but then that becomes second nature. And then it's so much easier to just continue to think about the other things that make the experience and know that you're going to nail the artwork.
Exactly. And it's such a wonderful thing to offer to our clients that if they have a vision, and that's a lot of what we talk about in the design consultation, my question is, if you could dream of any portrait of your dog, what would that look like? And to know and have the confidence that we can create that, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of clients will say they don't know.
Right.
But when the client looks you dead in the eye and says, I want to dress up my dog like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we need to be prepared to be able to do that. And we've done it. We did a Ruth Bader Ginsburg session and it went off famously.
Yeah.
Very often the client doesn't necessarily know, but it's our preparedness in the studio, both from the notes that we've taken from the design consult. Right after we've met with them, we sit down together. We write out our session notes of what our plan is, and we're making a set list.
Yeah, workflow matters.
Workflow matters. And then in our studio, we really only need about a half an hour to set up for a client, but we book out an hour to make sure we're completely set up. We're typically setting up at least 4 sets per client, sometimes less, sometimes more. Depends what's going on in the studio. Our studio is quite large compared to many. I mean, our studio is 25 by 75 or 80 feet long. So we set up multiple sets in the same room so that we move from set to set. We'll go into the room, make sure everything's set up. We'll, in many cases, choreograph what we're going to do so that to the client, it looks very effortless.
Seamless.
It's just like a bit of a dance, and we're moving from this thing to this thing to this thing.
And the practical side of that too is I think we want to move less things while the dog is there, so not to scare the dog.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
because we have big boom arms and we're using the big softball. It's pretty
Right. It's a lot of things.
yeah, it is for a new environment for a dog. So yeah.
And I think that's a big part of our business model is that I would say on average, we're spending somewhere between 15 and 20 hours total per client.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I'm leaving that number a bit vague, but it's in that range per client. It really depends.
And that's everything. That's from beginning to end. That's correspondence.
Beginning to end. Yeah. So I think the thing to think about is, how many hours are we spending per client? And in our business model, we rather purposely said we don't want to be rushed. So we're spending about 15 or 20 hours per client. Now, I think it's important to realize that when we say that number, Kim and I count our hours separately. So if you were with Kim and I for an hour, that actually counts as 2 hours.
Okay. Yep.
So design consults, all the stuff you have to do to get the client in the door, all the way through packaging up their order and sending them out the door and either delivering it or installing it. All those hours add up to at least 15 hours, sometimes as many as 20 if we're delivering on location. And we don't want to rush that time. We want because that time is valuable. And as a result of that business model, along with our wanting to have time off and to be able to travel, we know that our business model is low volume as a result of that.
Yep.
Then those two things together dictates our pricing structure.
Absolutely.
So, and that's what I hope your listeners, regardless of which business model they might select, that's the part I hope that they'll get out of that, is that how much time you intend to spend, and then that will dictate, according to your schedule, how many clients you're going to be able to see.
Yep.
Never mind how many you're going to be able to find. That's a whole other arm.
Right. You got to know. You got to start with how many you can serve, and
then that will dictate your pricing. And I think a beginning thought of thinking about your pricing based upon cost of goods sold, I think it's a fine discussion to have, but I think it's horribly misleading for the average photographer, because this rule, I'm doing air quotes for those listening at home, this rule of 4 or 5 times your lab cost is absurd.
Yeah.
Positively absurd, because I think in many cases on our price sheet, not that I want to get into that, but it probably is in order of 100 times the lab cost. Yeah. You hear Winston, our senior dog there, guys.
That's okay. Again, it's the pet photography podcast, so if anyone has a problem with the dog barking, they're probably not the right audience for the show anyway.
Winston wanted to join in. Winston is a 13-year-old corgi.
Oh, I love corgis. They're so fun to photograph. They're so expressive.
They are.
One of my favorites. Yeah, no, that's great points about that pricing. I shameless plug on hairofthedogacademy.com. There is a pricing masterclass that you can download for free that walks you through that process to figure out what are your costs, like what cost do you have to be in business? What are your costs for your products going to be? How many hours can you work? How many clients do you want to see? How many hours per client do you anticipate needing, to basically come down to your target session average? Because you can't determine your pricing until you know, I need to average $2,000 per client, or $1,500 per client, or $3,000 per client, whatever it is. That gives you a starting point, and then you can start to build your pricing in a way that gets your clients to that point. So definitely check that out if you guys need help with pricing out there in Hair of the Dog land.
And can I give you a little plug too? Only because
absolutely,
I think you are absolutely the bee's knees for sure. But also for people who are starting out and who are not sure what it is they want to do, take the course. It was the best information I found, and I worked hard. I really did. I am tech savvy. I can locate anything on Google. But yours was the first thing that I paid for, and I paid for some other stuff that did not work out to my benefit. But yours was the first thing when I said, oh my God, we can do this.
Yeah.
No, Nicole, really, honestly. And that was from the beginning. Now, oh my God. Right now, you've got everything covered. I just kudos to you. And
Oh, thank you. Nothing makes me happier than when students of mine take the information and run with it like you guys have,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and just apply it. And there's magic in the action, because
right.
I think a lot of people get stuck with, they consume education of some kind. And then it's like reading a book. How many times have we read a great business book and you're like, man, that is fantastic. And the next day you go straight back to your old habits and your old way of being, and you didn't change anything. I think
Exactly.
that happens a lot with education too, where people are like, oh, that's great. But then they don't
They don't do
actually,
anything. Right.
yeah, they don't implement it.
And I would say that your course is probably one of the most undervalued courses out there. And I say undervalued in that you're underpriced for the value the
It's
customer's
true.
getting. Now, bear in mind, when Kim purchased your course, it was a standalone course back then. It was not
Right.
a membership or a subscription-based program. And she ponied up the cash to do it. And it became very apparent to us very early that she was robbing you blind, candidly. Because if you think about it, all the things you need to know to run a business, from how to operate your camera to how to operate, Dubsado or whatever you might be using for automation, in this range of a million tasks in between, that if you don't know how to do those things, you need to figure them out, right? I mean, there's quite a lot. And so it turns out that you can buy that information in the form of education to fill in those gaps of your own self-learning or your own formal education. And really, at that price point, to fill in that many gaps, I don't know why anyone wouldn't do it. And then, of course, I believe it was this last year, please correct me if I'm wrong, you converted to a subscription model, which lowered the barrier to entry. Therefore, I mean, now granted, I don't think everyone could consume everything that you have in a month, even if they wanted to. But, but the point is, there's a lot there. And allowing folks to see that value for what I think is a very economical price point, I'm not really sure why folks aren't doing it more often if they're serious about their business.
And we believe in education.
We do very much. I mean, I'm an educator.
I'm constantly learning. I want to absorb as much information as I can. And we
absolutely. I still go to workshops. I'm going to Ben Church next month, and I'm like super thrilled. I can't wait to go learn from him.
Excellent. And I've worked with coaches and mentors, and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to pay the rate because it's great information. You have to align yourself with the right ones, of course. Find the right people that are out there for you. But
sometimes you just need someone to help you show you the way and encourage you to take action. I pay for business coaching myself, and I would not be here. This podcast wouldn't exist. The membership wouldn't exist. The summits wouldn't exist. Really, all the things that have happened in the past year and a half in Hair of the Dog would not have existed without putting that money where my mouth is, and investing in education for myself and coaching for myself, because it's too easy to let ourself stop for fear or just inaction with overwhelm of just, oh my gosh, I don't even know. I don't have all the answers, so I can't possibly do anything because I'm completely overwhelmed. Where in actuality, once you start taking action, it leads to clarity, and you don't need to see the whole road. You just have to get started. And then there's so many other places you can go that you don't even know where the end point often is when you get started. And that's okay.
Exactly. And I do think that you need to, your heart needs to be in it. I don't know. I do know some photographers who are family photographers and wedding and corporate and whatever, and so they're just going to add pets to it, and maybe it works. I don't know, but my thought is that pet photographers are a special breed.
Yes,
no pun intended. But our hearts are in it, and it's becomes quite a difficult thing to have someone look at your artwork. It really can be quite difficult, and to be judged by that.
The one thing that you mentioned that made me think of it is just, the passion for what you're shooting. I think that's so critical no matter what genre you're shooting.
Sure.
And you can, again, with photography and how you build your business, you can make any genre very profitable and fit the life that you want to live.
Yes.
But you need to love what you're shooting, because if you don't, you might as well go out and get a job that you don't really love, because that's what it would become. So, and I think our potential clients can definitely see that.
Oh, absolutely. They
we
can
say this often.
We do.
We say this very often to other local photographers who might be looking to add pet photography to their repertoire. And the first thing I'll ask them is, do you own a pet? No.
Right.
I've got some bad news for you. In our world, especially in the higher end of the dog specifically, but also pet photography, these folks will sniff out a non-believer in a minute.
Yep.
If you can't have a conversation about dogs' behavior and
probably this example, I had a few
looks.
photographers in a class for an in-person studio lighting class, and we have this big bucket of tennis balls. You may have seen it in some of our behind-the-scenes pictures, but it's a big bucket, and it's maybe 30 or 40 tennis balls in there.
Acrylic,
it's clear acrylic, and we use it when we do the tennis ball shot that we throw the tennis balls in the air around the dog. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen that, you can check it out on our website. But I had a photographer ask me, why do you need a big bucket of tennis balls? And I looked at him and went, you don't own a dog, do you? No. Like,
I've never been around a dog.
Because all the pet people look at that and think it's hilarious and they get it instantly.
And of course, the dog gets one when they go home.
And the dog gets one as a lovely parting gift. If they play with the ball and they want it, take it.
Yep.
Buy them by a case of 36 now, so why not? And I think that leads me to my next point. And it also leads back to my point about the value received in your course. Not that I want our entire podcast to be about your course, because we're really not salesmen, but rather I am trying to say about value. So if you're a small business owner and you're worried about spending $50, $100, I think you probably should go back to your day job. And I don't mean to be disingenuous when I say that. It's just, being a small business owner means you're going to have to spend some money on things. And the question is, do they return on the value that you spent? I think something like hair of the dog, or honestly, a case of tennis balls sounds crazy when you go to buy them and go, oh my gosh, I've spent another $50 on tennis balls.
Right.
Who cares? Who cares what the tennis balls cost? Because I have priced myself such that those costs are statistically insignificant. You cannot save your way into profitability. The idea that you're going to save money and make your organization more money is something a cubicle dweller thinks. Someone who works on that treadmill of a cubicle job, and they're never given the opportunity to earn more money. They're only given an opportunity to save money for the organization. Our job, small business owners, is to earn money in the small business. And of course, I'm not saying we're going to spend irresponsibly here. I'm not saying we're getting a private jet to go to PPI or something. I'm just saying, to be reasonable about those expenses. And there are some things you're going to have to pay for. And I
love that quote, that you can't save your way to profitability.
No way.
That is
Nope.
fantastic. And so accurate.
To give your listeners an idea, we spend on our clients, not counting lab fees, just the things we do costs us anywhere from $80 to $115 per client. Stuff we spend on them. All right. And it could be
and it comes back,
it does
100-fold.
Yes, exactly.
More. But the point is, yes, I have to spend some money out. Now when I say it's we. Kim and I, if you don't know, we're an engaged couple. We're getting married in October.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So when I say I'm really saying we. But when we spend those monies, we notice it at the end of the month. We go, wow, we spent a lot of money on macaroons this month. Seriously, we have our macaroon budget.
That would be trouble for me.
Oh, it's so much trouble.
It is, and actually, neither of us really likes them, which is the reason we buy them. Because we tend not to eat the leftovers. We tend to send them home, which we have to buy more of those little gift boxes, by the way, Kim, that we send people home with the macaroon. But I don't worry about those numbers. I worry about the other side of the balance sheet is way more we spend our
What
time.
Are we taking in?
The quality of the service and the quality of the products that we're delivering to the client are by and large our true focus. And that comes from a comfort that we built ourselves. If you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, oh, well, they both had customer service backgrounds or whatever, and I'm a career paramedic. I'm 2 years I was a paramedic and on the field. And I was also a healthcare educator too, and a college professor and all these other things. But and Kim worked, as the assistant to the president of a hospital and corralled executives to keep them from, running through walls and things. And if you think about it, yeah, there's some skills that cross over, but we forced ourselves to learn the skills that we have that we bring to bear on our business. Now, yes, I've been a studio photographer for decades and decades, and that really helps. And that competence brings confidence in the studio. Sure, absolutely. And I have more brain time available to worry about refilling the tea and, some bottled water or whatever it might be. And, refilling the water bowl for the dog and, all these other things. Of course, in the middle of a session, yes, there's time for that.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's another important point too, because I was guilty of it when I first started. I thought that I had to be in motion photographing every second of my session, that I couldn't take a break, because if I took a break, then my client would think, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. See?
Right. Sure.
Well, it's just probably my fear and insecurity of just not having the practice that I felt like I just had to keep going, so they wouldn't see that, oh, wait, she doesn't know all of these things yet.
Right.
And that's one thing I encourage everyone to do, is just take a breath, take a minute, let your clients know at the beginning, hey, this is going to be easy. This is going to be low key. We're going to take some breaks. If you need to have a minute to get your thoughts together, if you're shooting on location, sometimes for two reasons. Number one, if I really don't know what the light looks like around the corner of a building or something, I don't want to make my client schlep all their stuff over there. So I'll just be like, hang on for a second. I'm going to run and check this out. I'll be right back. And they're totally fine to wait and take a minute, and they appreciate me running ahead to make sure it's good. And I'll say, yeah, it looks great. Let's go. Or no, it's a little too bright over there. Let's go over this way. It's okay to breathe.
Yeah,
and
it is. And it's okay to call those timeouts for a little bit.
Yeah.
We often tell them, give the dog some love. We're just going to change some things up. We're going to check the camera, make sure we're on track. We don't rush people out. We don't book sessions back to back.
Yep.
So, we're not concerned with time. And we take our time, and people don't seem to notice when you intentionally take those breaks.
I would say I have a saying that I've used before that may not work, but I'm just going to throw it out there. It's called be the duck. Duck is in quack. Be the duck. So on the surface of the water, the duck is just gliding along.
Yep.
But under the surface, he may be paddling like crazy, but you'll never know by looking at the surface. And as long as you're calm and controlled and organized in what the client sees, you can have your own mental angst going on if you want, but take a break. If you need to run over and use the restroom for a minute, then go over, run over, use the restroom. People understand. It's how you address them. We're just going to take one quick break. So I'm going to step out to the restroom. I'll be right back. When you come back in, how's everyone doing on water? Awesome. All right, we're going to move over to this wonderful brown set over here. To do that, I'm going to move some gear around. So if you guys could step to this end of the studio, so we won't have any paw to lights collision. Perfect. Excellent. And off we go. And very directive, yet guiding, the little nudges. Yeah. And it makes for a great experience for the client's mind. Candidly, it's rare for us to have a client not comment at the end of the ordering session. Now, bear in mind, they'll have just dropped thousands of dollars with us.
Right.
To have them go, this was just such an awesome experience.
Yep.
We do that all the time.
And that's what leads to referrals. People are always asking too, what can I do for a referral program? I'm like, I'm sorry, and a free 8x10 is not going to motivate anyone to talk about the experience unless the experience is going to motivate them to talk about the experience.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And we follow, again, having the clients back for the ordering session. It's the same thing. They come back into our client lounge, we call it. And, we break out the china, we break out cheese, crackers, fruit, champagne, whatever people want. And then we take our time there as well. We use ProSelect. We put everything into ProSelect, and we go through, I think a lot of photographers do it this way. There's a slideshow, and then we go through each image individually, and we just kind of guide them, and we tell them exactly, like you said earlier, what is this next step?
Yep.
come in, we'll say, we just want you to sit back and relax for now. We're just going to watch the slideshow. You don't need to make any decisions at this point. After the slideshow, we'll go back and look at each image individually, and you're going to decide whether you like it or not. And, and we explain further, liking it means at this point, you just like it. You don't need to decide what your partial,
Right.
And we just keep going a couple of rounds, and people are pretty good with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you guys mainly, I know you focus on wall art. What do most of your orders consist of to get to those nice, multiple $1,000 orders? Is it usually just wall art, or what else are they buying in addition to that?
It's just wall art that we sell. So they are large pieces. Our smallest piece that usually goes out the door is a 20 by 30.
It's fantastic.
It is. And metals have seemed to be kind of all the rage. It really has. And I'm not sure if it's because of the photography that we do that kind of lends itself to being a metal. But
I think people also see that, and it's still somewhat unique. Like you can't get it at Costco yet.
Right. Yeah.
So they, a metal to us as photographers, we see them everywhere, but to the clients, it's still a pretty unique item. So I think that might be part of that. And your style definitely needs to lend to that. I personally don't do metals just because my style tends to be a bit more muted. So it just doesn't look right on the metal, or I much prefer it on a canvas or a fine art paper.
Exactly. Now it's funny because when we're shooting on white, almost 10 out of 10, I'm going to say it ends up being a metal. When we do something a little bit on the darker side or more richer tones, we gear people towards the canvas because we think as artists that's, more of what it needs to be.
And that's also why they're paying you. I have found too, when you get to a certain price point that, the 4-figure sale, at least, then the clients are coming to you, looking to you for your suggestions.
Absolutely.
They don't know how to do this. They don't know the difference between all our different types of artwork and what looks good and what looks bad or not as good, I should say.
Exactly.
So it's up to us to give them suggestions in a nice way of, I think this image would look stunning on this finish.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to let people know, everyone out there, what you think as the artist, what medium you think it would look good in, or what size. People ask all the time, like, oh, what if it's a 4x3, but they want it in a 4x5? Like, well, if it works in a 4x5, then I say yes. And if it doesn't, I explain, well, going to crop here, and this really doesn't look the best for the image. So why don't we print it in this size?
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Exactly.
Well, also, and if you've done your job, maybe I'm being a little direct saying it that way, but if you've done your job in the design consult early on, you have a good feeling about where this artwork's going to go.
Yes.
You know what their wall colors are like and what their decor is like. And we've asked people, what's your decor? And they went, we have kids. That's our decor.
Our dog. Right. We have dogs. We have Great Danes.
We have Great Danes. So there's no decor. I get that. I get it. And then we'll know, because we'll have taken scrupulous notes when we're going into the studio session, we'll know which way to lean into the artwork such that it's going to make the client really, really happy. Again, that customer first principle, that what making them happy matters. And so by listening carefully to all the information they're giving you over time, beginning, middle, and end, all of that comes into play in the ordering session. The ordering session is the last 10% of this process.
Yeah.
100%.
And I always of it is the design consult.
Yeah. I always tell everyone too, like, if you approach sales from a place of just honest listening to your client and with the intention of just serving them and helping them get something they will love, there is no reason to be nervous about it. And it 100%, by the time you get to the sales session, like, the sale's been made.
It's
the sale's done.
Absolutely.
You're just picking out which image you want to put on the artwork, or maybe if they want to add on some other things.
That's it. Exactly.
We don't sell.
Yeah, we don't sell. The images sell themselves and the design consultation, because we know sometimes, most of the time, really, we know what size we're shooting for. And that makes a difference. If someone's going with just a couple of 16 by 20s or whatever,
Yep.
doesn't happen that often, but at least we know that we need the dog a little bit closer in the frame.
Yep.
So it matters to us. And I think having that conversation and telling them why we need to know up front really makes them go, oh,
Exactly,
yeah.
because explaining why that it's not just you saying, "You need to decide." You're
Right.
telling there's a reason why you can provide better service if you have an idea of what they wanna do with the images, so
Yes. And
that's a great way.
we've even talked clients down to a smaller
Oh
size
gosh, yeah.
because
Yep.
a larger size just wasn't going to be the right
I
thing
don't want
for
that
them.
phone call 2 weeks
Right.
Yep.
after we deliver something saying
Right.
this thing's too big and it's taking over the room. I don't want that
Right. You
call.
can't.
Right.
And of course, someone wants a huge portrait, but when it's in a hallway, it's not going to work.
Right,
They're not
right,
gonna be
right.
happy with it.
They
I
won't
want
be.
them to be happy now
Right.
and forever because we're making generational portraits here. We know that
Yep.
pets are not going to be in their life forever. We know that. We want this art to be in their life forever. And we have a responsibility, candidly, to our clients to make sure that they're going to be in love with it now
And forever.
and forever.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
relationship building kind
Yeah.
of thing.
And that builds trust too, and that also leads to referrals and leads to great experiences.
Right.
I do have one quick question for you guys
Mhm.
about the beginning of your process, your inquiry process. Do you have any suggestions for ways that encourage people to come in and meet with you? Do you find it challenging sometimes in this era of everyone being so busy and so hard to nail down, and quite frankly, some people difficult to get on the phone? What have you found that works really well to get people to take that next step and come in? I imagine once they come in and meet with you, they're the pretty high booking rate once they come in.
Right.
Well,
Mhm.
so the 2 points. First, when folks say they don't have time to talk with us on the phone, I really don't have a lot of I don't know. There's not a lot to that in my mind because if they want to sit there and text or message or whatever back and forth for 3 days, we're not
Right.
about that at all because it's such a waste of time.
Right.
We can candidly
no
get a lot
value
of
in
this
that, yeah.
figured out because we cannot get our tone and the quality of what we do across by those means. We need them on the phone. And
Yep.
the phone is 5, maybe 10 minutes, not much longer than that. Kim's time is quite valuable for that sort of work because that's Kim's end of how we divide labor amongst us.
Yep.
But her goal is to get them into the studio. The only way, literally the only way you can have a studio session with us is if you've come in for the design consult. If you
Yep.
haven't done that, there is no studio session. I'm going to
Yep.
pitch to Kim because I know she's chomping at the bit
Yeah,
to
I
share
haven't.
more.
I haven't found it as difficult as I have heard that other people have found it. And
Yeah.
so I guess that's a good thing. I don't know if we've been lucky or
Do you
I
do you mention that like on your website as they're looking into you, like that's
Yes.
part of the process?
It is absolutely.
Okay. Yep.
Absolutely. And you know what, Nicole? I think, my goodness, I don't know. The last time I think we talked or had some kind of correspondence, you and I, we were talking about our target market, and mine has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I think my target market, I was young women, single with a dog and a
Yep.
full-time job. Now they're a bit older. They're about 50, 40 plus.
Yep.
And these people don't mind getting on the phone and they don't mind
Right.
coming in.
Yep.
And I tell them over the phone what to expect from us. And, you'll want to see the art before you even go ahead with this process. And,
You want to see our studio.
and you want the
Yep.
You
dog
wanna
to
bring the
come
dog.
in. Yeah, you want the dog to come in so they're not nervous the second time they come for the studio session, So there's a lot of reasons we give why they should come in.
Mhm.
And that is the way, it's just kind of just the way we work.
Yep.
So
That's fantastic. If that's, I think having it on your website of like you're setting the expectation, and I'm sure you still have random price shoppers that call, but those are the
course.
people that aren't really serious about
We're
it
used to
anyway.
hearing no.
course.
We're okay
Yep,
with it.
it's okay.
Yep. Thanks so much, guys. I want to be cognizant of your time. I really, really appreciate you guys taking the time and dropping some awesome knowledge for everyone to help increase their value and their client experience and be able to, create the experiences for the clients that get their clients talking. So thank you so much for being here. Can you tell everyone, a little bit about where they can find you and
Can I just, yeah, and I'd like to thank you again for having us. And I think people know how to reach out to us and ask us more questions. We're happy to, tell people what we know. But I'm at KimberlySarahPhotography.com. The website is KimberlySarahPhotography.com. Bud, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm at info@themasterlightingcourse.com. I teach a lot of studio lighting, as you know, both locally up here in New Hampshire. And of course, we do an online course, which many of your Hair of the Dog folks know me already because they've seen the work we've done in Hair of the Dog Academy and also the work we've done in the
Online Summit.
The online summit. Sorry, couldn't quite get my word. But of course, we have a rather lengthy 120 video plus course for those that want to do the
soon to add location lighting.
And location lighting, outdoor location lighting will be coming up very soon.
It's a great resource for anyone that wants to learn more about shooting in studio right now.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you guys have a incredibly comprehensive course there for that.
We do. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you.
Yeah,
but awesome. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful.
Yay. Yeah, thank you so much again, guys, for joining me. Really, really appreciate it. We'll see you around in the Big Hair of the Dog Facebook group and in the Academy.
Excellent. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Hair of the Dog podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to leave a review. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. One last thing, if you are ready to dive into more resources, head over to our website at www.hairofthedogacademy.com. Thanks for being a part of this pet photography community.